Welcome to this rapid revision exam skills video looking at paper 2, Superpower Relations and the Cold War. This video will be looking at question 1a and 1b, explain one consequence of a particular event. You'll have to answer two of these questions and each of them is worth 4 marks. This video is up to date for the 2025 specification. Let's have a quick look at the Pearson Edexcel Paper 2, updated for the 2025 specification. Traditionally, this paper is split in two. There'll be a British depth study, for example, Anglo-Saxon and Norman England. And there'll be a European or wider world depth study, for example, Superpower Relations 1941 to 1991, and that will be the subject of this particular video. In the past, these have been provided as two separate booklets answered within the same exam, with a total time of 1 hour and 50 minutes to complete both papers. So let's get into question number 1. In previous years, candidates had to explain two consequences of one event, but that's been changed for this year 2025, and I think it's a change for the better. Edexcel recognised that the previous exam structure didn't provide much breadth of knowledge, and so it was more difficult for candidates to show the breadth of knowledge that they had. In this case, it's been split into two. Question 1a says explain one consequence, not two, just one, of, in this case, the Cuban Missile Crisis. And that would be worth 4 marks. So for this question, this is what you'd need to do. For this question, you'll need to explain how an example that you know about led to further events or examples. Explaining how one leads to the other is the key. You should aim to spend about 12 minutes on question 1. That's 12 minutes for question 1a and question 1b, so about 6 minutes each. In fact, with this question, you'll probably find that you can finish it a little bit sooner than that, which will provide you with a little bit more time for some of the more complex questions, like the narrative account and the 8-mark questions for question 3. So let's see how you would answer question 1a on the Cuban Missile Crisis. So consider the question again. Explain one consequence of the Cuban Missile Crisis 1962. It's only worth 4 marks, so let's not write too much. A good structure to use for this is what I call point, example, explain and link. You can see that I will colour code my answer to show where I'm making a point about something, providing a specific example, explaining its effects or giving more detail, and linking it back to the question, how it is a consequence of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So let's go. Firstly, my point. One consequence of the Cuban Missile Crisis was the installation of a hotline telephone between Washington and Moscow. One of the reasons why the crisis escalated so seriously was the delays in decoding and translating messages between Khrushchev and Kennedy. This made it hard for both the USA and USSR to tell what the other was thinking, which could lead to misunderstandings and potentially nuclear war. The installation of the hotline meant that the US president and leader of the USSR could communicate directly and try to de-escalate conflicts. So you'll be marked for both AO1, your knowledge, and AO2, your explanation, as part of this question. So here we've got a bit of AO2, where we're explaining how this is a consequence. We're providing further detail for AO1, and then providing further explanation of its effects for AO2, and then combining the two into our link sentence, where we're showing how this is a consequence. That's all you'll need to do for this. And like I say, although you can in theory spend 6 minutes on this question, chances are you won't need to. Let's have a look at a second example. Now question 1b. Explain one consequence of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan 1979. Exactly the same format as the previous one, but just a different focus. Here, this time we're looking at the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So we just need to choose one thing that happened as a result. We're going to use the same format as we did before. One consequence of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan was the end of the period of détente. In the 1970s, the superpowers had gone through a period of greater understanding and cooperation, signing agreements like SALT I. The invasion of Afghanistan ended this, with the USA and others boycotting the 1980 Moscow Olympics and Carter's refusal to sign the SALT II treaty. Although the period of détente was already under strain, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan gave the USA the excuse it was looking for to abandon détente altogether. Again, we've done a bit of AO2 showing what was a consequence, a bit of AO1 knowledge and understanding, give an example, further AO2 explanation of that example, and then we're combining the two into our link sentence to show what happened as a result. And it's as simple as that. That should be 4 out of 4. Now, if you want, it's over to you. Here are some practice questions for Superpower Relations. And remember, when answering these, the structure and the technique is exactly as I've just demonstrated for question 1a and 1b just before. Explain one consequence of the Berlin Ultimatum, 1958. Explain one consequence of the Hungarian Uprising, 1956. Explain one consequence of the Cuban Revolution, 1959. Explain one consequence of the Prague Spring, 1968. And explain one consequence of the Helsinki Accords, 1975. Crucially, all of these questions would allow you to choose multiple things which could be consequences, which shows the breadth of knowledge. But remember, you only need to show one. Our final points. 4-mark explain one consequence questions rely on secure knowledge and the ability to explain how one thing causes another. You'll answer 2 of these questions, question 1a and question 1b. You'll need specific knowledge, so be careful that you read the issue and the question carefully and check the dates. You'll need to explain what happened as a result. This is what a consequence is. Remember, consequences can be positive, negative, or neither. It is just what happens as a result. That's the end of this exam skills video. If it's been useful, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Goodbye.